Hello and welcome to another edition of Two Up Top. I'm Gav Mack and I'm joined by We Are West Ham fan podcaster James Jones. How are you, James?
Very good, thanks, Gav. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Thanks for joining me on the show. Before we go any further, we go through all the housekeeping as always. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel at Two Up Top Footballs. Not at Two Up Top Football. We've changed it, haven't we? At youtube.com/C/Two Up Top Football, and make sure you download Soccer Manager 2021. On the 14th of September, it's available on the App Store and on Google Play. We are West Ham. We are _West Ham is handle. There it is there. So all you West Ham fans, make sure you follow and subscribe to his stuff, and we'll get that running along the bottom of the page so everyone will be able to find out who you are. Right, James, West Ham. What's going on?
Where do you want me to start? Do you want me to start from this summer or about 5 years ago when it all started?
5 years ago. Oh, I thought it would go a bit longer than that. But where should we begin? Should we start with Golden Sullivan?
Oh, okay. So, right.
Yeah, on already.
At the moment. It's the whole club is a complete shambles. To put it bluntly. They moved us into that stadium. You know, everyone knows that all the problems that brought in terms of, you know, it's got a running track around it. The seats are miles away from the pitch. It's nothing like Upton Park. It wasn't what they promised fans it would be like. You know, they called it a world-class stadium for a world-class team. And we bought into it for, you know, up until the move. We were like, yeah, brilliant. You know, if we're going to get into Champions League, you say, you know, you're going to do. And bearing in mind that we just missed out on finishing the top four in our last season at Upton Park.
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
we really felt that actually this stadium move might just be the making of us. It just wasn't. And you know, it's been well publicised how much of a tragic stadium migration it's become. And since then, it's just been bad decision after bad decision, lie after lie. Broken promise after broken promise from the board, countless poor recruitment, barring one or two, and here we are now going into a season having not made a single signing and selling out our best young player, barring Declan Rice, who'll probably go anyway. Yeah,
how did that go down with West Ham fans? Because I saw the tweet from Mark Noble. He was very vocal about losing Diangana, and he had a great season as well at West Brom last year. And I know there was a difference between the Championship and the Premier League, but did he have the minerals to turn it on for West Ham?
Well, the fans certainly thought so. David Moyes certainly thought so as well. You know, before pre-season training started, and I know it was a really quick turnaround, but you know, he was going, I want to build a young, hungry team here at West Ham. And you know, there was talk that he had plans for Diangana once he'd come back from West Brom. And then in the 3 pre-season appearances that he made for West Ham, Diangana, I think he set up all 3 goals of Haller's hat-trick against Ipswich. Yeah. Haller actually came out after that game and said, I can't wait to play with this guy. He's going to be brilliant. He's going to set up all the goals. The club's tweeting pictures of Diangana in training going, this guy's on fire. Pictures of him and Jared Bowen going, imagine these two ripping it up next season. And fans are like, brilliant. You know, we've actually got a young winger from our academy. He's gone on, you know, he's proved himself in a Championship promotion winning side. And now he's going to prove it in the Premier League with us. And instead, 3 days after all that bigging him up, he's sold to West Brom for £18 million. And the fans are like, what are you doing? And you know, we're reliably told that David Moyes isn't happy about that. You know, he wanted him with the squad. Obviously, Mark Noble was not happy because he's tweeted about it, and a lot of the players aren't happy about it. So it hasn't gone down well. It's been a bit of a PR disaster for the club. Yet another one. And the fans are they're at breaking point now. I don't think it can be repaired, that relationship anymore. No.
I mean, like, how do the players then find the trust back in the board? Because it's clear if the manager isn't very happy about this, and the players are verbally outspoken about the decision as well, how do the team, the on-field guys, then sort of restore their faith in the club and what's happening at board level?
Well, I don't think they really need to, as long as they've got, you know, full faith in the manager who's picking them and you know, picking the tactics and geeing them up every day in training, then I don't think they really need to have much faith in the board. I mean, a lot of people might disagree with that, but it's David Moyes is the one that's picking the team and winning football matches, or trying to at least. And it seems as though the players, or the most influential players, are on the fan side, and and I think that could work in our favour, given that it's now the players, the fans, and the manager against the board. And before, it's always felt like it was just the fans against the board, and the players and the manager all kind of caught in the middle. So yeah, they've kind of they've nailed their colours to the mast. We know what side they're on. And I don't think they need a relationship with them. The only time they need a relationship with them is if they want to leave the club, and they're going to rely on the owners to get rid of them. But at the moment, it seems like all the players are on our side and ready to play, albeit a day after all that happened, they got battered by Bournemouth in a friendly. So I say all that, but no one knows what's going to happen.
Hey, look, the Arsenal lost 3-2 to Villa in a friendly. It's a friendly; it doesn't matter, does it? So we get over it, don't we? But yeah, I find West Ham a little bit like Everton in a way. High levels of frustration, not any real idea of direction. The money that's been spent of late for West Ham, it's been a bit weird, hasn't it? I like the idea of Souček staying. I think that's a steal, because I thought he had a brilliant season last year. And Jared Bowen, I think he will come good. I think he will. But
he's had a good pre-season, Jared Bowen.
Yeah, he has. And to be fair, he looked quite energetic in the end of last season as well, the games that he did feature in. But you haven't got a decent out and out striker. And anytime you do sign a striker, they don't really step up to the plate. I mean, like your highest goal scorer last year was Mikel Antonio. What is Mikel Antonio's best position?
No one knows. I don't even think he knows either, to be fair.
See the turn, but right back, left back, centre mid, centre forward. The only place I don't think he's played is in goal for West Ham.
I mean, that'll probably come. All it takes is a Fabianski red card, and he goes.
And then he goes. But yeah, he's a key player for you, I feel, and especially the goals towards the end of the season kept you in the Premier League, as far as I'm concerned. But who else is stepping up to the plate for West Ham at the moment? Who's getting grabbing the game by the scruff of its neck, other than him? And I wouldn't even say Noble's really doing it at the moment. Who else is there to say, right, come on, we are West Ham, we're going to do something here?
I mean, there are a few in there that genuinely care about the performances and about playing for the club. And we've already spoken about Jared Bowen has arrived at the club. He's only been here for a short period of time, but he's just getting his head down and he's playing and he's putting in good performances in what must be quite a difficult environment for a newcomer at the club. Souček's exactly the same. Declan Rice is obviously the big one. Will lead by example at such a young age from midfield. And you mentioned Mark Noble there, but I think Mark Noble is a different type of influence now. He was an influence on the pitch, and in some ways he still is, but he's more of a dressing room influence now. He's coming towards the end of his career. He's got 1 year left on his contract. Yeah. And I mean, he might extend it. He won't play for anyone else. If he doesn't, he'll probably retire. But he's more of David Moyes is relying on him to keep the players happy in the dressing room, GM up before games, and make sure everyone's happy, and that he does that to a very, very good standard. Yeah. But then the rest, there are a lot of players that have sort of been at the club for a while that, you'd hope would be putting in the performances that, you'd need them to put in when the club's under a little bit of pressure, particularly last season when we were in a relegation battle for most of the season. Players like Aaron Cresswell, who's been really poor for the last 2 years.
Which disappoints me because I like Cresswell.
Exactly. Issa Diop, who had a really good first season and flagged off a little bit last year, although, he did have some good performances.
Well, he was linked with the move to Chelsea, wasn't he? 50 million.
He was. And now, he won't get a move to Chelsea. But, you've got the likes of Fredericks, who, he was a free transfer, but hasn't really done it. And then Haller up top, you mentioned strikers. it's not his fault. He's a very, very good striker, but we have a thing about buying strikers and then never playing to their strengths.
Yeah,
and he's
cool.
not the only one we've done that with. There's that running joke where I think under Golden Sullivan we've signed like 50 strikers and they've scored a combined like 100 goals or something like that, which isn't good.
You know what? I did actually have that stat as well, and I remember when I first heard it, and I was driving. So I heard it on the radio. I was driving, and they were saying, "Oh yeah, they've spent X amount, and they've done this," and I was like, "No, can't be serious." I come on when I researched it, and I was like, "They've actually got it bang on the money," and it was ridiculous. Jack Underwood, who is from the Armchair Pundits podcast, he's watching the show. Thanks for watching. He's said, "What do you think the Hammers need to do to get back on track?"
Good question.
Where is the track, first of all?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's around the pitch. It's a good question, Jack. I think we've been asking ourselves this for a while. The general feeling amongst fans is that there has to be a change of ownership at the club. As we've already established and we've already mentioned, the owners have lost the fans. By all accounts, they've now lost some of the players. And after everything that's happened over the last 5 years, I don't see us pushing on and becoming the club that we were promised that we were going to be when we moved into that stadium, and the potential that we have. We've got 60,000 seat stadium in London. We're an attractive proposition for potential new investors, but also players still in the Premier League. But it just needs new ownership with some new ideas, some little bit, just a little bit, just something different from up top. A little bit more ambition, because I think they've taken us as far as they can, and I think they're refusing to really admit that at the moment and being a little bit stubborn. So, if there's no change of ownership, West Ham aren't going to improve for me. I don't see it happening anytime soon.
I really like West Ham's ground, and I love the location. One of our best pals used to live in one of the high-rise towers. Literally, you could see the stadium.
Yeah,
a beautiful apartment, beautiful stadium, looking down on it as well. But one particular day, I went down to see him. This is when Huddersfield was still in the Premier League, and I was looking for a ticket, and the ticket would have been at the back, which is not a problem. Would have been there. Monday night game, West Ham versus Huddersfield, and they wanted £55 for it.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
How can that doesn't compute with me? Now, if I'm an Arsenal fan, right, and people will moan about Arsenal ticket prices all day, but if I want to go see a Category C game, which would have been a Huddersfield, I'll be paying £30. So how can they get away with charging so much?
It's a difficult one, and we brought this up before with the club, because they kept telling us when we were just doing the move that we have the cheapest season tickets in the Premier League. I think there are tickets that's actually a fact. I think some of them go for like £200-300, but you're right up in the gods. So I mean, some of us are like, well, perhaps they're now upping match day tickets to kind of supplement that, but then they are taking more season tickets every year than they were before, so they shouldn't really need to do that. But the way I see it is greed. That's all it is. We don't really see a lot of that reinvested, we especially haven't this summer. But no one really knows. It's but there are other clubs that will charge ridiculous prices for Category C, Category D games, and I mean, it's a difficult one to answer, really.
What are the attendance figures like? So I was actually going to ask that question anyway, but Liam Feeney is watching the show. He's just asked that question himself. So, what are the attendance figures like? Are you selling out most games?
No, I wouldn't say that. I mean, at the beginning we were, but it all depends on what the team's doing on the pitch, and I think that probably goes for most clubs. We are actually only licensed to have 57,000 capacity at the moment. When we moved in, it was 55, and then we had to apply for more. I think it was like health and safety regulations and stuff like that we had to meet before we could expand. But most, I mean, the figures we get, and you'll know this as an Arsenal fan, the figures we get, we do question. in terms you look around and go, this definitely ain't a
Sure.
sellout. Definitely ain't a sellout. And then the following morning, it's like, 57,800. It's like, no.
All right, yeah, of course.
Yeah, I mean, I saw more than 200 seats empty, you know, but it's normally sort of in the 50-55 mark, I would have thought, from a true, like, actual being there and seeing it point of view, but you'll get close to maximum capacity in the official figures, as it were.
You're about to embark on your 9th season back in the Premier League, but I just want to go through some league positions here, which I've got scribbled down here. So the 12-13 season was when you came back, 10th. Then it was 13th, 12th, 7th European qualification, 11th European qualification, 13th, 10th, 16th. It's so inconsistent, and I think that's what the issue is with West Ham at the moment. You know, after you beat Man United at the beginning of last season, I think it put you 4th. And don't get me wrong, it was only 6 games in, but just the performances that you were putting in after, because the first game of the season, it was a bit of a hammering against Man City, and then you turned it round and you actually looked a bit more solid and looked more comfortable on the ball. Like, players were actually asking for the ball; they wanted to be involved in it. So, where did the mentality change? What happened in that sort of period between sort of like October and Christmas?
I think we went. I think it was 7 games unbeaten after that defeat to City on the opening day, and we were all thinking, well, here we go. Like, Pellegrini by this point still in charge, and we thought he's cracked it. And then Fabianski got injured, and Roberto went in goal.
Oh God!
And I mean, anyone that remembers Roberto, just calamity. He was worse than any goalkeeper you've ever seen, any bad goalkeeper you've ever seen in the Premier League. I think against Bournemouth,
100%.
He caught the ball from a corner and chucked it in his own goal.
Yeah,
and it was like, I think he scored like 2 or 3 own goals, and it was that moment. I think it was away at Bournemouth, and Fabianski got injured. Roberto came on. I think it was that game, and it all just went downhill from there. And it ended up with exposing Pellegrini and his director of football, Husilos, in terms of the quality or the lack of quality of players that they brought in. Because Roberto, everyone was looking at Roberto going, "You brought him in? Like, what's going on here? Like, he's letting us down."
Yeah.
And that was it. And it ended up him losing his job. And then by then you're crawling back. You're in the bottom 3. You're 4 or 5 points adrift, and you're fighting. And then David Moyes comes in and eventually keeps us up. But it was all every West Ham fan will pinpoint to the moment Fabianski got injured, that free for all, because we were doing really well up until that point.
You were, yeah, definitely. Some big results. You beat Chelsea. Beat United. You just got some really important victories when they were needed as well. So, what were your thoughts on Pellegrini initially when he first came in, and then how it panned out when he first came in? What was the vibe like around West Ham?
I think it was a bit of a mixed reaction. A lot of after it came in after Moyes left the first time, and a lot of the fans were calling for like a so-called big name manager to come in and take the reins, and they were already calling for better recruitment. So they would get, David Sullivan's been in charge of transfers, bring in a director of football, and they did that. And director of football came in, Pellegrini came in. They spent 100 million quid. The likes of Felipe Anderson arrived. Yarmolenko and Issa Diop and players like that, and we thought, here we go, finally spending money. We got a Premier League winning manager, and I think he led us to 9th in his first season. And by no means was it perfect that first season, but we were 9th. No relegation battle in sight. We thought, okay, cut the mid-table finishes under Pellegrini, then we can push on. And then, as you just said, it all went wrong in that second season, and him and his mate upstairs, Husilos, got exposed very, very quickly, and it was never gonna work after that.
It's so difficult for teams outside, like fans of teams outside the traditional top 4, top 6, because you automatically, not in a bad way, but you automatically will be happy with a 5th place if you get there, or a top half finish, and just continuously finishing in the top half. But when Leicester go on and win the title, it's now given every team that air of belief.
Mm-hmm.
And when you do get a manager who has won a Premier League to come in, you think, hold on a minute, something might work here, and we might actually be able to believe a little bit. Why not go out and try and push for a top 4, or at worst case scenario, top 6, and get yourself into the Europa League, and that might attract a different type of player, different name that will be able to take you on to the next level. And I feel like players like Felipe Anderson, when he came in, he was a massive coup because he was doing bits in Italy. So to get such a name like him, did you feel at that point that was even Payet, even Dimitri Payet? Did you feel at that point that was your opportunity to then say, right, we might actually be able to get a top 4 in a good season, or a 5th place, or an FA Cup?
I don't think so. I think Pyatt was a different one because he came in that summer before that last season at Upton Park, and he did nearly lead us to the top 4. We ended that season 4 points off 4th, but we kind of
you came
crumbled.
7th, but it doesn't tell the full story. Yeah, because you're right, you were only 4 points off.
And I think in those last 3 games, we'd lost to Swansea and Stoke and beaten Man United. Yeah. So had we beaten the ones that everyone expected us to the teams we'd expected us to beat, then we would have finished in the top 4, and we'd have been a Championship club going into London Stadium. But it didn't work. But I still think that even when the likes of Anderson arrive, Pellegrini comes in as manager, you do think this could be our moment. But at the same time, a lot of people forget that it's so difficult to break into that top 6, let alone a top 4. I mean, we came so close to finishing the top 4, but still finished outside the top 6 that year. And, Sheffield United saw it last year. They looked like they were going to finish in the top 6, but towards the end, tailed off a little bit. And a lot of that's down to just the size of squads, experience, and things like that. And it's so difficult for clubs like West Ham, Everton to break in and then stay there. You might get something like Leicester. They've done really well. They've managed to stay in and around there. But even then, last year they tailed off. They looked like they were going to finish in the top 2.
Fell off. I didn't understand what happened to them at all, because you put your house on them finishing top 4.
Yeah.
And it's just once again, it's just that little bit of know-how, bit of experience almost that sort of let them down. Moyes came back to the club. Did you want him to leave in the first place?
I think it's a difficult question, because he certainly deserved to stay, given that he kept us up, and that was his remit. He was brought in to keep us in the Premier League, and a lot of people felt that although they didn't particularly want a manager like David Moyes at the club, they wanted that big name manager. They also thought it was quite unfair the way they just went, yeah, thanks Dave, off you go, mate. We're bringing Manuel Pellegrini in now. He's gonna finish the job off, sort of thing. But then when they go back to him after Pellegrini's gone, the feeling was like, you're not taking the mick now. Like, what are you doing? It's like, come on, like, you didn't think he was good enough the last time. Why do you now think he's good enough? And it was like they've gone back to him with a towel between their legs, going, oh, sorry, David, can you come back and save us again? So this year, this is his first proper pre-season with West Ham, because the last 2 times he's arrived in the winter.
Yeah.
And I think no one's really got an issue with David Moyes in charge anymore. I think he's always said the right things. It's just about whether he's actually backed upstairs, and at the moment he hasn't been this summer. But I think a lot of West Ham fans feel quite positive about what he could potentially do with us if given the right resources.
Yeah. So how old are you, if you don't mind me asking, James?
32, mate.
32. Oh, same sort of age as me. So what's your earliest memories of West Ham? Take me back to your childhood. How did it all come around?
My first memory of going to West Ham, my dad was hell-bent on me being a West Ham fan growing up, and he took me to a game when I was very young. I must have been about 3. Yeah. And against my mum's wishes, and he dragged her along with him as well. And I think we played Norwich. We won 4-0, but it was so loud every time we scored. I cried every time we scored. So just like the big crowds and stuff like that. And yeah, that's my earliest memory. And I remember he always said to me, he said, if you ever come home and tell me you're a Tottenham fan, you'll be homeless. And he kind of scared me into being a West Ham fan. Obviously, I don't mind now, although it is quite depressing at times, most of the time. But yeah, he was that hell bent that he took me to a game, and I pretty much cried the entire time. And then he sort of scared me into being a West Ham fan. Don't be a Spurs fan, which I'm grateful for. But yeah,
I'd be grateful too.
Those are my early memories, and obviously then before I know it, I'm going with them every week, and I can't wait to go.
What are your sort of like how did you feel that you were like in the 90s? I know because they were a bit yo-yo-y in the 90s as well in terms of league position. There was just having a look at some tables here. Mid-table-ish finish in like the mid-90s. Then you got to 8th, got to 5th in 98, 99. That's when the king Ian Wright left the Arsenal, went over to you lot. He was top goal scorer that year actually, with 9 goals. But prior to that was John Hartson. Johnny Hartson left Arsenal, went your way. 24 goals he scored that season in 97, 98. There's not been a striker since, but West Ham for me always were that sort of it's almost like the nice version of Wimbledon. In a way, because like Wimbledon was just a bunch of reprobates, wasn't it? That all just turned up, whenever they fancied, and off they went. And I didn't feel that West Ham were reprobates, but they were just a little bit like rough around the edges, and will still turn up and give you guys give the fans a bit of entertainment. That's what I felt of West Ham.
Yeah, I think particularly in the 90s, mid 90s, and towards the end of that decade. It was a good time at the club. It wasn't perfect off the pitch, but Redknapp in charge, and we had the golden era of the academy coming through. Lots of Joe Cole and Frank Lampard, Rio Ferdinand, Michael Carrick, and players like that all coming through. And we finished 5th, got into the Intertoto Cup, won that, no problem. But then Harry Redknapp left, and there was Terry Brown as owner, and then he sold us to the Biscuit Baron in Iceland, who almost bankrupted us, and the downfall kind of started when Harry Redknapp left. He had us in a good place. Yeah, okay, we weren't challenging for any trophies or anything like that, but we were comfortably Premier League. We were churning out good youngsters every week or every season through the academy, and we had some good rivalries, and we probably were a nicer version of Wimbledon. And a better version of Wimbledon as well.
Yeah.
I'll throw that one.
Yeah, I'll let you have that one. I'll let you.
but yeah, no, in my memories, like the late 90s, early 2000s are probably the golden era of my lifetime at West Ham, definitely.
Yeah. 2002-03 season was the year of the demise. It's annoying because the year before that he came 7th, so I would have thought it might have been an opportunity to push on again, that sort of transition period again, but you went down. It wasn't it clearly wasn't the greatest season because of the relegation. But was that sort of like an end of an era, or was it a lot of frustration? What was the feeling like then?
It was frustrating because, as you said, we'd finished 7th the season before, and you really felt that we could push on, or at least have a bit of consistency. And in my lifetime, we've never followed up a good season with another good season. If you actually look down the list of seasons since '88 when I was born, there's never been a 7th, 8th, 9th. It's always been 7th, 15th. 10th, 16th, it's always been up and down.
Absolute joy, right?
Yeah, I mean, it keeps you on your toes, doesn't it? But yeah, I think that season was hard to take because we had a good squad there. We had Michael Carrick in midfield. We had Joe Cole, Paolo Di Canio up front. Glenn Johnson had just broken into the team. We had I think it was Les Ferdinand was still playing for the club, so he was up front, and David James in goal and players like that. And it was a good team, but for some reason it didn't work, and went down on the final day away at Birmingham. We needed to win, and we could only muster a draw. So, but we all expected, we'll come straight back up. We're too good to go down. And it was that year as well that I think we went down with the most ever points for a club to be relegated. It was 43 points.
40. Let's have a look. Let's see if I've got some bits there. 42 points.
42 points. So, I mean,
because it's the magic 40, isn't it? You think,
exactly,
if we get to 40 points, we'll be fine. But
exactly. We just expected, right, we'll come straight back up. And then following year, we lose in the playoff final to Palace. And I have to do it all over again. Neil Shipley scored the winner that day. I mean, I've never been so embarrassed in my life. But
I met Neil Shipley. I used to referee, and he was the gaffer at North Greenford.
Yeah.
And his assistant manager was Mark Nichols. Remember Mark Nichols? He had about 4 minutes of game time for Chelsea and thought he was the king. And I was assistant referee that day in that game, and the referee, he's a pal of mine, so I won't throw him under the bus, but I'll be honest with you, he weren't having the greatest game. And he was storming towards our change room at half time, and I was thinking, right, think fast. And I went to him, I was like, excuse me, mate, are you Neil Shipley? And he was like, yeah. I was like, I actually was a sticker when I was in my 1995 album. Literally just nullified everything. And Neil Shipley went back from up here down to there. I was like, whew. I said to the ref, I was like, mate, I've just saved your skin, mate.
Love that.
Oh, God. So West Ham bounced back up the season after. Carlos Tevez, Mascherano. What was the vibe like then?
I look back then, and because we came back up in 2005, didn't we? And then we had a year, and then Tevez arrived. I think it was Tevez and Mascherano arrived after that first year, actually second year back up. And I look back now, and it's just a really bizarre situation. Like, obviously, we know the consequences of what happened, but even I look back now, the day it all happened, and I still can't believe it. That those two world-class Argentinian football internationals just rock up at West Ham, sandwiching Alan Pardew at the tunnel, and he ain't got a clue what's happened either. He's like, what?
Lost, mate.
But then we couldn't work it out because Tevez couldn't score. Like, for ages, he just couldn't score. Mascherano was kept out of the team by Hayden Mullins. I think shipped him out on loan to Liverpool in January because he couldn't get a game because Hayden Mullins was too good, and it was like, what is going on here? And then Tevez starts scoring until the end of the season. I think he scored 7 in his last 12 appearances and kept us up. But just mental season. Alan Kirbishy comes in and saves us. But wow, look back and go, what was all that about? But it's never done at West Ham.
Oh, no, it's not. I mean, it all sort of kicked off at the end of that season because of the Sheffield United situation.
Yeah.
Did you think they had a bit of a leg to stand on?
No, not Sheffield United. Because about 3 weeks before they were relegated, a lot of people forget this, they played West Ham at Bramall Lane and battered us 3-0. Carlos Tevez played 90 minutes that day. He didn't have that much of an influence, did he? And all they had to do was beat Wigan on the last day.
Yeah.
And they lost to a David Unsworth winner who they sold to Wigan about 4 months earlier. So sorry, Sheffield United. It was your fault. If you hadn't sold David Unsworth, then you might have stayed up. So that it is what it is.
Message to Sheffield United from James Jones. It's your fault.
They got their money though. They got their money in the end. The High Court forced us to pay out, and now they're a better club than we are. So they probably had the last laugh. So,
where do you think? What? Let's bring it back to nowadays, and the new season's just about to start. Most teams will have that level of excitement. Is there excitement at West Ham?
No. And that's me being completely honest. No, there's no excitement. There was towards the beginning of the summer. There was feeling that we were linked with some good players, like Ollie Watkins ended up at Villa, Jamal Lewis gone to Newcastle for peanuts, even the likes of Callum Wilson and players like that. We thought, okay, spend a bit of money, bring some players in, sell a bit of the deadwood. But we've got Diangana coming back. He's going to be brilliant. He's done it well last year, and Don't sell Declan Rice. He's still knocking about, but we're worried we'll sell him. And we thought, no, this could turn out well. David Moyes is saying all the right things. This could turn out well. And we ended last season 4 games unbeaten, playing very well.
You actually played some really nice football.
Yeah, and we thought, here we go. But we say that every summer, it just never works. But now, after everything that's happened in the last 10 days, week to 10 days, and the fact that Newcastle, with player of the weekend, have signed all the players that we were linked with, and Callum Wilson came out and said, "Oh, I can't wait to play against West Ham with Davey. I love scoring against them." And it's like,
I don't want to hear that.
Great, yeah, cheers, Callum. So yeah, like we're not. You struggle to find a West Ham fan that's looking forward to Saturday, 8:00. Let's put it that way.
Oh God! You mentioned getting rid of some of the dead wood. Who do you class as dead wood? Who do you want to see out the door?
Well, this is no disrespect to these guys because it's not their fault really that they've been injured. But like Jack Wilshere, a lot of people slag him off, which I think is quite harsh because they don't want to be injured every week. It's never you don't become a professional footballer to be injured. It's just been unlucky.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think given the wage, I think it's $100,000 a week, and he's played in 2 years, like 15 games, and they're not even full 90 minutes. So we'll try to ship him out, but no one's going to pay that money. His wages, the likes of, and I wanted to see us ship some players out, but replace them with better players. The likes,
of course, yeah.
The likes of Fredericks, Masuaku potentially, although he can do a job every now and then. Manuel Lanzini, bless him, since he got that ACL a couple of years ago, not been the same player.
The same player. Yeah.
And we absolutely adore him, but the feeling is like maybe he needs to move just to try and rekindle his career because he's still really young, 26, I think, or 27.
Oh, I didn't realise he was still as young as that. I mean, I remember when he first came on the scene, I was thinking, oh, this kid's all right, and and then you picked him up. I was thinking, you know what, these are West Ham mean a bit of business here. But yeah, you're right. Since that injury, it's so difficult to come back from any injury anyway, any serious injury. But ACL is probably one of the worst ones. There's not many players that come back even as good as they were before with such a serious injury like that.
Yeah, it came. He'd been called up to the Argentina squad for the World Cup, and it came in training. I think it was about a week before the tournament was going to start, and he was going to be playing the World Cup for Argentina. And then that happened, and I was so gutted for him because he's not been the same since. But hopefully he's done okay in pre-season. So we might see a little bit of him again. But I wouldn't have minded if we'd have sold him, just because I just want him to go and have a good career. And I feel as if he might be a little bit held back at West Ham now. I don't know, but
yeah. So replacement-wise, we're like, I'm not going to turn around and say, right, James, you've got an open checkbook, because that won't happen at West Ham. But who realistically out there, no offence to West Ham or West Ham fans, but let's just be honest here. You're not going to be able to go out and go get, someone from a high top end club, no matter how much money you throw at a Bayern or a Barcelona or a Real Madrid, but if you're going out there to get realistic targets, who would you say, 3 players, say, to come into West Ham and improve your side? Who would you be looking at?
It's a difficult one to sort of name names because most of them have been bought by other clubs this summer. We're okay going forward. We've got the attacking strength, even without Diangana. We've got plenty of wingers. We've got plenty of guys that can play up front and score goals. And even our midfield, Souček's, pretty dangerous. Scored 3 towards the end of last year. Scored 3 in pre-season. But defensively, that's where we need work. Particularly right back and left back. Cresswell's not been the same player since he picked up a bad injury about 3 years ago. Fredericks, touch and go. One good week, one bad week. Masuaku doesn't know how to defend but can go forward. But I mean, Rico Henry is one that I'd like to see us go for. I really wanted us to go for Jamal Lewis, but Newcastle beat us to it. I mean, it's difficult to really name names. I just want us to want a mix of young players, particularly in the Championship. We've got a good record of buying from the Championship.
Yeah.
But then also a little bit of experience. Look at some of the mid-table or clubs, maybe even the clubs that have gone down, or mid-table top 8 clubs, and see whether any of those players up for sale, because they're still good players.
Yeah, of course.
But then you look at some of the players that clubs in and around us have signed. Sheffield United have done pretty well. I think they signed Bogle from Derby, who's a good player. I think Sheffield United bought him. Newcastle done good business with Ryan Fraser, was on a free transfer. What's going on there? So it's difficult to really put names on it. I just want us to see I've got a month before the window shuts to fix that defence. And if you look back at our highlights against Bournemouth from last Saturday in that friendly, you'll see why we need to fix the defence. So almost every single goal was a defensive error, and it's like comedy gold. If you're not a West Ham fan, you're laughing.
Yeah,
because it's that funny.
But you're a West Ham fan and you're watching that thinking,
head in
we've
hands.
literally got a week until the new season starts, and
head in
this
hands.
is what I'll deal with. Yeah, not good, man, not good. I want to know a little bit more about you though, James, because I follow you on Twitter. I saw that you did some bits involved with Love Sport. What's your background? Are you involved in media away from the pod?
Yeah, I'm in sports media, predominantly football.
I absolutely felt that.
I'm in the industry. I started out. I still work for a company called Snack Media, so they're a sort of digital sports agency that specialise in football websites. They've got own and operate probably about 50, 60 websites, but then they've got another sort of 400 or 500 in their network they represent from an advertising point of view.
Wow.
And I look after the editorial on our owned and operated sites, and we recently acquired Give Me Sport, which I'm sure everyone would have
heard of Give Me Sport.
So we've recently acquired them at the beginning of lockdown. There's been a bit of a merger with those guys over there, which has been great. But then on the side, I've done TV work, radio work. You mentioned Love Sport, and then the podcast We Are West Ham, which is kind of born out of Love Sport Radio. We kind of, when they stopped broadcasting at the beginning of lockdown, we continued to do the show, but as a podcast, and it kind of went from there. So, I've sort of, my boss always laughs that I turn up at the opening of an envelope when it comes to TV and radio, and it's half true, really.
No, brilliant stuff. Right, the final question: what's your league position this year?
Oh no!
Didn't mean to put it on you like that, JJ.
Do you know what? Given what's happened over the last week, 10 days, I wouldn't be that annoyed if you finished somewhere like 16th. I just feel that there's so much negativity around the football club at the moment that for us to have a good season, and by a good season I mean sort of comfortably 10th or 12th, it would be a miracle. David Moyes would have performed miracles. I just think that we're not in a good place at the moment, and it will rub off on the players. As much as we said earlier that they're on the fans' side, it's still not a great environment to be in for all parties, really. And I just don't see all that going on, but us then going on and having a great season. I mean, it could happen. It's not impossible, but I just don't see it. So and the fact that we never follow up a good season with a bad season, and vice versa. So
so this you are coming fourth this year, and then getting relegated next season. That would be classic West Ham.
Yeah, I'll take that, to be fair, actually. No, I'm joking. I reckon between 13th and 16th will probably be us, and it'll involve a relegation battle, because it always does.
Always does. I mean, like that, I've been seeing talks about a takeover, but the stadium looks like, I think it'll be paid off in 2023, is it, or something? And the value of the club will just go through the roof. There's
a funny deal that the board signed, that if they sell the club before 2023, then they have to pay the government a percentage of their profit or something as part of our lease agreement. But after that, we can sell the club. They can sell the club take everything out of it, and whoever buys it can then rent the stadium again, sort of thing. So, which is why the fans are a little bit worried that we've still got 3 years left of Golden Sullivan. It's gonna be a long 3 years.
There's only so many times you can rip the seats out. Anyway, James, thank you so much for joining me on Turp Top. Make sure you subscribe to his channel. All his details going down on the bottom down here. There we go. We are _West Ham. Follow him on Twitter. Have a look at all his West Ham vibe and chat. Also, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel, the Turp Top channel, youtube.com/c/Turp Top Football. Ensure you then download Soccer Manager 2021 on the 14th of September. It's available on the App Store and on Google Play Store. And did you know, if you put Turp Top into Google, our name comes up first? Interesting that. Thank you and goodbye.